Let's get to our next guest who says the freight recovery is well underway, especially for domestic trucking. Let's welcome in Don Broughton. He's managing partner of Broughton Capital. Don, everything should kind of be, I guess, people figuring things out now, except for the fact that we're worried about a big downturn. So what are you hearing from these companies, and what should they do now to position?
Well, the politicians and press are always worried about something, but the bottom line is you have to look at the facts. The facts are this. The volume of truckloads posted in the spot market have declined from the frenetic levels that we had early last year, but they're still 2.5 times what they were at the bottom of the COVID quarantines. And they're still higher than they've ever been any time in history pre-COVID. When I look at spot pricing, yes, spot pricing is down over 30% from the peak it hit at the halcyon days of early 2022, but they remain higher than any pre-COVID levels. And contract pricing, while it's retreated about 5% from the peak, it's still more than 35% higher than it was at the end of pre-COVID. Then I will look over at rail volumes. If I look at industrial car loadings, they're up 3% year to date. That's strong. Intermodal's down, but that's for obvious reasons. People aren't switching off the highway onto rail because diesel prices have come back down. There's some weakness in some areas, but like commodities that need to be exported. But there are notable strength in auto. Auto volumes are up 11%, and there's 4+ years of pent-up demand. Wow. With the industry max production. Crushed stone and sand that we make foundations with is up 12%. Lumber's still down, but it's turned and sequentially started to improve. Steel's up 5% year to date. Chemical volumes are essentially flat, but we're seeing the oil and gas exploration industry in the United States decide it's going to replace Russia as Europe's energy provider, and in doing so, it's going to drive ever larger incremental volumes in that industry.
Yeah, and it's interesting that actually international freight flows have been weaker than domestic ones. Why is that? What does that tell you?
Well, there's a couple of things going on here. First of all, in 2021 and 2022, container prices they were ridiculous. They were sky high. Container themselves were in short supply, and transit times were unreliable. So that's been addressed. We've built capacity. Containers have become available. Prices have returned to normal. And just as that was happening, the Chinese started shutting down entire cities to deal with the spread of COVID. And most supply chain managers had already had enough, and that just threw salt in the wound, so to speak. And they're saying, look, we're going to completely re-engineer our supply chain because we just can't do this anymore. And just as that was happening, to make things even worse, Russia's invasion of Ukraine has made things even more complicated. It's made it more complicated because first it required the air freight industry to divert flights. FedEx might have over 700 planes, but a 777 Boeing jet's worth over $200 million. Nobody wants to fly such a valuable asset anywhere near a war zone. It also has thrown ocean shipping lanes completely out of balance. So you have things like the tons and tons of grain and steel that normally were coming out of the Black Sea they've disappeared. And so that throws lanes out of balance. And that's before we even consider the guilt by association that was already occurring, but has only been strengthened by the recent meetings between Putin and Xi Jinping. Fears of China's expansionism into Taiwan, similar to what Russia has done, may not be warranted, but like most fears, it's making people change the way they do things. And that includes finding places other than China to source products.
And bottom line, you still like FedEx, XPO, and its various spinoffs, JB Hunt. Don, always good to check in with you. Thanks for your time.
Always good to talk to you. Thank you.
Don Broughton.